So I know that in my realm, in my life, currently there's quite a few loved ones that are really kind of struggling at work, and a lot of conflict is happening. It can help to think about the other person, but that's really hard to do when we're kind of in our own pain, right? I mean, if somebody kind of flares up at you, what's our first stance? Usually we want to defend. We want to defend, we want to deflect, we want to, whatever. And that oftentimes escalates a situation. So I was talking with my friend this morning, and she's kind of sharing everything that's happening at work. There's a surface level and then there's a deeper level. So on the surface level, something's happening and we're perceiving it in a way and we have our own perspective on it. On a deeper level, what's really happening is that ego is in conflict with an ego. And the way I described it to my friend this morning is because she was asking, she said, I feel like a monster because of how she reacted. Even though what she was requesting was appropriate and on point, but because she wasn't heard, it kind of exploded. I think what I really want to share in kind of the crux, because really this happens in all of our relationships, whether it's at the grocery store and whoever's checking you out is in a pissy mood, or you're driving and someone cuts you off and you get pissed at them. So it's happening within our lives. Anytime we're with another human being, really, there's potential for conflict and upset. What I would like to try to share today is it's like we have two identities. One, we could call the ego, we could call it kind of our human side, our personality, who we are. The other one, we could call spirit, your spirit, your soul, your, however you want to define that. For me, we all come from the same stuff, and that same stuff is, for me, pure love. But because we are born into these bodies and we have this human, so it's kind of like we have two consciences. We have the human conscious and we have the spirit conscious, that piece of us that comes from pure spirit. As we grow in these bodies of ours with the families that we have and the schools that we go to and the communities that we're in, we become the human part of us is what we mostly experience. Like, I've understood this, but I shared it in a way that like seriously made sense to me today. I'm like, oh man. And my first thought was, ooh, I should write that down. My second thought was, ooh, I'm doing Symphony's Walk with Grace today. Maybe I can share on Symphony's Walk with Grace. And now I'm really stumbling on my words, but let's give this a shot. When we're in conflict, it's like the ego and the ego are at battle. My ego, your ego, or whoever the battle is. Okay. The goal, the thing that my friend was asking for more than anything, and that I think we all struggle with, is we don't want that struggle anymore. We're tired of struggling. How many of us are so tired of fighting? Tired of the fight, tired of defending, tired of all that kind of stuff. Well, what I've been kind of working on and studying a little bit and trying to bring a little, because I had my own conflict, a couple of them this week. And the thing I was trying to practice was peace. I can see peace instead of this is a principle. And that's what I shared with my friend. And she said, how do I do that? What is that? Basically, in that moment, when you say, I can see peace instead of this, it is as effective, more effective than that breath that I say to, take that breath to calm the body. It's even more powerful than that, because the principle behind that is to realize that I am a soul spirit, that part of God that is pure, having a human experience. And the human experience of conflict, pain, suffering is the thing that I don't want anymore. I want to be at peace. Peace is really our natural state. The human part of us gets in the way. And if we can view that part of our ego that fights and defends, and if you could see that part of you as being wounded, the wounded child, and that ultimately you come from pure love and are pure love, and you can see that about yourself and recognize that in the other, right? When you're in conflict, both of you are acting from a wounded child standpoint. Would you agree?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so those wounds are different for everybody, but they always have the response is typically the same, which is I have to defend myself. I have to protect myself. I have to take care of myself. I have to fight for myself. If, when we're in that moment, we say, I could see peace instead, all of a sudden, I no longer have to feel like I have to fight, protect, all those things that happen to a wounded child. Instead, I can be a loving presence and still meet the requirements. So what was happening this morning as this story was kind of being told to me, and that I was able to see in my own life when I got upset, really upset, earlier this week. When you're able to kind of understand this and gain some perspective on this idea that we are all created from perfection and are perfect, but that we have all this wounded child in us.
And for those who want to argue that point, let me just say the only time that an infant is angry is when like they're colicky or hungry or they need a diaper change. They really are. And a near a near euphoric state, I would call it, because they're just surrounded by like either, if you look at a baby, they're always like they're like that for a reason. We were all like that at one point.
Yes, correct. Unless we were born in like some major. But yes, all babies have the quality of, if
Touche.
all my needs are met, I'm happy, I'm content, I am at peace. So yeah, same thing. So if I can let that piece go when a conflict starts, and I can say, you know what? I am okay. I am perfect the way I am. So are they. Our egos are in the way. I'm going to drop my ego and I'm going to come from the loving stance. And the loving stance has dropped the ego. Now you can do what you need to do without your own painful wounds coming in and clouding things up. So now I can say what I need to say without blaming. I can do what I need to do without blaming, without accusing, and see what happens when you come from that kind of a stance.
I like that. And I personally have been practicing that in a different kind of way, which I
Cool
find
beans.
unique. Uh,
Yeah.
so
That's what I love about this. And I love about this about just the way the universe worked. You know, I've talked about this before, how I was working on something and my husband comes home and he's doing the same thing, only I didn't know it. Now here's you and I'm sharing this. You've been doing it in your own way. And I love that. And I love that about our channel because I think people hopefully, as I talk and as you talk, they'll be able to sift it through their own perception and their own reality and say, oh, hey, I've been doing that too, only it looks like this.